Good morning, good morning. How are we all doing this morning? I'm going to take a couple seconds here and just get this shared. So bear with me, and then Cesar will come on. I hope you guys are doing well. It's early here in Vancouver, but that's okay. We've got an awesome, awesome conversation that's going to happen this morning. So, in just a couple of minutes, it will begin. And when you come on, please say hello in the comments. I hope that we'll be able to see your comments. You guys, when this conversation's happening and Caesar's talking, please leave comments. Please put your questions in the comments. If we don't get to them on the live, we will definitely be able to share them. We'll be able to answer them. Sorry, I'm trying to multitask and it's not working. Hey, Caesar, let me just get you on here. Yes. Should be adding you. Hopefully it will work. It says it's adding. There he is. How are you?
I'm well. Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly. Yeah.
Awesome.
It's so nice and bright where you are. It's still dark here.
Well, it's Florida. I've got my Florida t-shirt on so I can represent properly.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, it's a little dark. It's still like the middle of the night here, but that's okay. I'm just sharing this in worldwide right now. Coffee. All right. Get my maintenance out of the way. I do this every time. It drives Mike crazy, and I know he's on here. I asked him to help me share, so it always drives me crazy. I hate it when you have to do that. Okay. So how's it going in Florida?
It's going really well. It's like 65 degrees and sunny
Nice.
and beautiful. It's
Ah.
great weather for the guys to be doing spray foam work in.
Oh,
The
I
attics
bet.
aren't too
Yeah.
hot yet.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you guys get it. Like you, so Florida in our what we consider winter, what would be your like, well, this year it's probably been a little bit different, but most of the time, what is it temperature wise there?
Oh man, most of the year. So for you guys in Canada, the bad part of the year is the winter. For us, it's the summer. We have
Yeah.
6 to 8 months in the high 90s with 80 to 90% humidity. Attic
Wow.
temperatures are typically 140, 150 when we're doing retrofit work, so it's brutal.
Yeah. Well, that's dangerous too, right? Like you have to be very, and it's funny because I always see guys posting and girls posting in there about like stuff, and it's like you guys got to take care of your health. If you don't have your health, I know that there's that whole thing about like just get back at it. And it's like I've watched too many people recently that have not watched their health and now they're suffering for it. And so I'm always like, you've probably seen me in Worldwide where I'm like, you guys, like I get in there and kind of give them shit because it's like, no, I can't handle it. You guys have got to take care of yourselves. A little duct tape's not going to fix it always.
No, you have to be careful with attic
Yeah.
temperatures like that. We work in two-man teams and they have to go up and tap somebody out. When you're talking about wearing a respirator, a
Hmm.
Tyvek suit, and you're just pouring sweat and you
Yeah.
start hearing your breath and you don't even realize it that you're about to fade out. So about every 20 minutes in those temperatures, they go and tap each other out, make sure they come down and hydrate.
Wow.
And yeah, we've had a lot of good luck with that system. Nobody has passed out and fallen through a drywall ceiling so far.
Which is good. So what do you guys do mainly to keep hydrated in those kind of temperatures? Like what are the go-to things for that?
I see a lot of stuff about pickle juice and stuff like that on Spray Foam
Yeah.
Worldwide. We stick to like the sports drinks, lots of
Oh, okay.
Gatorade, lots of
Gatorade.
water, and then just make sure that they take their suit off and they get fresh air when they come down, supplied air when they're up there. We bring as many fans to ventilate, to move air up there as possible. But the
Right.
retrofit work is really the dangerous stuff. The new construction is sweet.
Yeah, oh, for sure. Most definitely. Well, now that I'm not having to do all my other stuff, I wanted just to say thank you so much for reaching out and for being willing to share your story. I was like, I read your message. I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, yeah, that's definitely a conversation that we can have. So I appreciate it. And I see your wife's on here. I appreciate her sharing you with us and taking time
She's
away.
scolding
So
me.
yeah,
She's
hold
telling
your
me to hold
phone
my phone
still.
still. Well, I don't have like, I'm not in front of a computer, so.
Yeah, I've got a little tripod, like it's a selfie stick, but it's got like a tripod on it. So I usually like pop it in there and have it standing up because otherwise I'd be all over the place. Everybody'd be motion sick.
Yeah, I'm not nearly that prepared, so
Yeah.
you'll have to deal with my shaky hand.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. And good morning to everybody that's on here with us. So I guess Caesar, just, go ahead and kind of start with your story and let us share with us what you've gone through. And I know somebody, it's going to be more than one person for sure, but there's going to be people who are going to learn lots from this conversation and take away a lot of good stuff out of it. So
Yeah,
go
and I
ahead.
like to do like a format where we can just have a conversation. So at
Yeah,
any
for
point,
sure.
please jump in because I don't want to do like a,
Oh yeah.
40-minute rant.
No, it's all good. No, I will definitely do that for sure.
All right, so, prior to being in the spray foam industry, I was in the bar business. My
Mm-hmm.
dad, my dad was a bar owner in Tampa, Florida for, I don't know, 40 years.
Wow.
And at one point, I think he owned like 22 bars. So, I mean,
Oh man. Yeah.
he was a big name in the area. And that's all
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to do when I grew up was be like my dad. I wanted
Yeah.
to own the bars, have that kind of life. The problem is not everybody can do that and be successful. So on the
Right.
business end of it, I was extremely successful.
Yeah.
On the other side of that, the drinking and the other things that started coming through
Mm-hmm.
were I was not able to handle, and I was very ill prepared. So,
How old were you when
I,
you started?
well,
I guess probably.
I probably started drinking alcoholically way before I ever owned a bar. Um,
Yeah.
Drinking was really acceptable. A family that owns bars, it's looked over even at a young age. Before I was at the legal drinking age, I was drinking all the time,
Mm-hmm.
and I did well. I went through college, high school. I mean, I got my first DUI in high school, if that gives you any idea. Before I
Yeah.
was even legal drinking age.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up in a very, very small town in the province of Saskatchewan up here in Canada. And I mean, at that time, there might have been 1,200 people in that town. So drinking underage is that's just part of what you do. And, it is. And lots of people had DUIs like at 16, that type of thing. Drinking age there is 19.
It's a
So
pastime
it's
though,
not
because there's
21.
nothing else to do.
Yep, exactly. Everybody's bored and there's not a lot of stuff to do, especially like back in those days, there for sure wasn't a lot to do. So that's what you did. You drove around, and we're driving, and most of us were farm kids. So you're driving back and forth to your farm, like
Hmm.
not good stuff. And the thing too was the police would, they'd kind of check on you once in a while. And if you were okay, they'd let you go. Like, you get home safe, go straight home. And it was like, I think back to that now and just go, oh my God, like we're so lucky we're alive, honestly.
Oh man, we had a couple of local police guys that were more than nice. We had this whole area that was called the End. It was like the point where all the high school kids went out by the
Mm-hmm.
water and drank. And
Yeah.
obviously the cops knew about it because you're talking about 100 cars every weekend out there. But it's a big
Yeah.
open piece of property, and they would come out and make everybody pour their beer out
Yeah.
and send us home. And I look at today and I'm like, man, can you imagine? Every person out there probably would have been arrested now because
Oh,
things have changed so much.
100%. Like ours was because we've got a lake that is not very far. It's about 3 miles from the town. And there's a drive in there. And then we would have parties at the gravel pits. And so they'd come down there and like do the whole same thing, like dump your beer. And then, obviously everybody got tickets for having open liquor in their vehicle. And, it was like, oh, well, we'll just split in on that ticket. It's no big deal. Like whose turn is it to take the ticket? Like I think about that and I just go, man, wouldn't
Yeah,
happen. Not
times have changed so
so
much.
much. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'll go into it. High school,
Hmm.
already DUIs, started experimenting with drugs, recreational stuff, and chased that into college. Still was
Hmm.
able to complete college. And first opportunity that I had, I got into the bar business just like my dad.
Yeah.
He put an opportunity in front of me, and I'd saved some money, and I owned my first bar. I think I was 23,
Wow.
and oh man, I thought I was a big shot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
I thought I
most
was the man,
definitely. Yeah.
and I was successful. I like to talk to people. I like to work a room, and I'm social, so
Hmm.
did well. Scheduled bands, did all of that stuff. But the partying, like it
Yeah.
went from as soon as I would show up, somebody buys you a drink. It's real
Right.
similar to business even today, though. Everybody has a drink when they're talking
Yeah.
business.
Hmm.
Business lunches turn into business cocktails, turn into long nights,
Yeah.
and that doesn't work for everybody. And it really didn't work for
No.
me, and I didn't see it until really it was too late. So while I owned that bar, there's drug dealers that were coming into that bar
Hmm.
and doing their business, and my experimentation went past that to like regular use. Also,
Mm-hmm.
while this is going on, my uncle passed away who owned another bar, so I ended up
Oh,
inheriting a second bar.
right.
So my justification for my behavior, for the way that for all the stuff I did, is look how much money I make. I'm
Hmm.
successful, the bars are successful, I employ all these people,
Right.
I can't really be that bad. But mind you, my morning bartender would come in and wake me up out of a booth because I
Wow.
would pass out in my own bar.
Yeah.
And as time went on, I couldn't justify it anymore because I got into really hard drugs,
Mm.
and it just took me down. I ended up becoming a complete and total heroin addict behind the scenes where nobody knew it was going on, but
Right.
eventually you can only hide it for so long.
Yeah.
And more DUIs, more arrests, eventually arrested for possession of heroin, which is serious, and it put the brakes
Yes.
on everything.
Yeah.
And sorry if I'm shaking the thing, but
No, that's
that
all
arm's
good.
getting tired of holding
Yeah.
it. So I'm catching a pretty serious felony charge.
Hmm.
I got put into a program. Um, in Florida, we have a drug court system where they'll try to divert you so that you don't go do prison time, and they try to get you
Ah,
treatment.
okay. Yeah.
So if you complete the treatment and you do everything, then you don't have to go to prison for your charges. My
Right.
problem was I was already so far gone that I couldn't stop, even on probation. When I knew I had drug tests, when I knew I had this and that I had to do, I would fail the drug test, get put back in jail. They would try to work with me again. I would get out, get back on probation, fail the drug test again, and eventually, after 5 violations, I was facing a pretty serious prison sentence. I
Right.
had lost both bars, could not function,
Oh,
could
wow.
not run anything. Both
Hmm.
bars were auctioned off, literally penniless. And during this same time, my mother and father had Alzheimer's. They had both gotten older,
Oh,
and I
geez.
was
Yeah.
taking care of them. You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
I was doing my best to be a good son, but probably much more of a burden than any type of help at all. And
So what is the timeline that we're talking about from 23 to what age is this that you're at now?
the progression wasn't super fast, but as bad as I was, we're up to right now probably about 36 years old.
Okay.
And I was able to hide it for years,
Yeah.
and people not really see how bad it is because again, it's the bar business. So having meetings and being a little
Right.
tipsy,
It's part of the
not
culture, kind
everybody
of.
knew,
Hmm.
right? But the progression over time, everybody was able. I was the last one to know I was an addict,
Right.
basically. Everyone else
It's,
was like, "Oh,
yeah.
you just realizing this? Yeah,
Yeah,
we know how
shocking.
messed up you are."
Yeah. Well, and plus you add on parents, both parents having Alzheimer's, like you add that into the mix of all the rest of everything. That's hard to do without any other issues. That then throws you probably further down that spiral, right? That's a
It's
lot
a
to deal with.
it's a pretty bad cycle because you're not
Yeah.
real proud of the way you're acting anyway. So there's already
Right.
guilt and shame,
Yeah.
and nobody wants to say, "Hey," especially as a man. I know if anybody from the spray foam groups are watching this, you don't want to ask for help. We're
Right.
men. We will
Yeah.
fix this.
Yeah.
And I tried to fix it. I went to a voluntary detox one time. Very good intentions. I'm going to get
Yeah.
cleaned up before the law makes me get cleaned up.
Yeah.
Didn't work. And then, especially with opiates, you have to have it every day or you're a wreck. So, first thing I'm doing in the morning is scrambling to get what I've got to get. Then, once I get right, okay, got to take care of the parents, got to take care of the business, got to put the mask on for the day
Right.
of I'm a responsible human being.
Yeah.
And it really, it takes its toll, guilt, shame, remorse for the way I act. I wake up in my bar, my place of business, and can't remember what I did the night before because the alcohol is still there. I just added everything else to it.
Right.
So I was still a raging alcoholic, just with a
Yeah.
bunch of drug problems on top of
Right.
it.
A great
Which made,
combination.
yeah, I mean, I was a fantastic person at this time.
Hmm.
So I was fortunate. The judge, I'm in front of her facing 5 years in prison. And I've been, at this point, I've been through rehab after rehab. I get out, I go on probation, I violate. And I basically tell her, I said, this is a waste of time. Don't put me in another rehab.
Yeah.
I can't do rehab. Um, I just want to go to prison and get the sentence behind me.
Right.
And she told me to shut up. She fired. She goes, Mr. Rodriguez, shut up. We know you can do time. You've done jail time after jail time. We want to see you do recovery. So we are going to
Wow.
send you to another rehab. And I was like, oh man,
Yeah.
I was really upset. But I got there and I found some gratitude for my situation, I guess you would say. I was
Mm.
grateful that I wasn't in prison. I didn't want to become a better criminal. I really did want to get well. I just didn't think it was possible. And I did the one thing I had never done. I asked somebody for help. There was a guy that was coming in from a 12-step group,
Hmm.
and he told us his story. And his story was a lot like mine, except this guy had a tie on. He pulled up in a car, looked like he had a job and a license. I didn't have any of those things.
Right.
So I asked him, I was like, man, can you show me how to stay sober? And he said, absolutely. Um, he laid out a program for me, and I started doing what I needed to do.
Hmm.
Got out of the rehab. Now, mind you, penniless. I got out of
Right.
rehab and was barely able to scrape it together with my family to get a rental house. And I spent 6 months looking for a job.
Hmm.
Felonies. Mind you, I have a college degree
Right.
and I'm 37 years old and I can't even get hired at Subway
Yeah.
because nobody wanted to take that shot.
Hmm.
So after 6 months or so looking for a job, I was also working on trying to get my license back.
Yeah.
5 DUIs and habitual driving on a suspended license.
Right.
And I was told that I would never get it back, that it was impossible. But because of sobriety, I have like this newfound drive. And I was like, well, I'm going to pursue it
Hmm.
until the last person I can go to tells me no. And I found a way to get on this supervised driving program. And once I found that, there was a company that said they would hire me. It was the only place, of course, an insulation company in the middle of summertime in Florida
Yeah.
doing attic removals,
Hmm.
which I didn't even know what that meant at the time.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't care. You mean you'll hire me? He said, yeah, if you have transportation to get here, I will hire you. So I did what I had to do and I got the license and I went down there. And my first day of work, they called me the wrong name and they told me to jump on that truck. They said, hey, Sean, jump on that truck and go. And I thought I was showing up for a job interview and I had a collared shirt on and
Oh,
the GM,
they're like, oh my God, what have we got
the,
here?
yeah, the GM did not care. He's like, jump on that truck, Sean, and go. And
Yeah.
I climbed into my first attic, and it was like this low-pitched retrofit.
Yeah.
And I thought I was gonna die, but I thought I was gonna die with this huge smile on my face because I was gonna get a paycheck.
Right.
And I stayed. I got there early, driving an hour to work. I got there. I beat everybody there every morning,
Right.
and I would stay late. The company, it's shout out Energy Monster in
Yeah. You
Florida.
shout them out for sure.
Yep. Energy Monster took a shot on me. They kind of
Hmm.
knew what my background was. The GM at that time was sober.
Right.
He had an alcohol problem and he had been sober for a while, so he knew what I was trying to do,
Hmm.
and he gave me a shot. And I mean, I worked my ass off, and I started moving up, which I couldn't believe.
Right.
And I started running a crew. I started learning about spray foam. I got to ride on the spray foam crews for a while. Of course, I would do the really hot retrofit work and do the removals, and they'd give me a
Hmm.
little chance on the gun here and there to learn something, where they would show me how the reactor started up, show me how the generator worked, everything that I would need to know. They were patient and they showed me stuff that was invaluable.
Right.
So
So at this time, so at this point, when you started with them, how old were you at that time? Just to give people kind of an idea of time frame.
36, I believe.
Okay. Yeah.
30, yeah, 36.
Because I think what happens in cases where this is something that somebody can relate to, they're at where you were coming out and they've got nothing, and they think, like, I mean, I didn't have that situation, but I knew years ago that when I was 36 years old, I was in an industry that I detested, and it was probably going to kill me because I was probably drinking too much then and doing just, bad marriage, the whole bit at 36 thinking I'm too old and I can't change. So, it's crazy to me when I look at that now and go 36 is not too old. Like you're never too old to make a change. So,
I believed that because for so long I thought I was going to outgrow this. Like, I'm going to put all this foolishness behind me. I'm going to eventually stop doing this. And then I'm in my mid 30s and I'm like, it's
yeah.
not going away. I'm
Yeah.
not going to outgrow it. I'm not going to outthink it.
Right.
It's just, I believe that. I remember right before my 30th birthday, I was like, you know what, man, I'm going to make a change on my 30th birthday. Now, mind
Right.
you, you don't make a change without putting action behind the change. So
Exactly.
I had this really great idea of making a change, but I put no
Mhm.
effort into actually making it.
Mhm.
So, I mean, one of the reasons I reached out to you is because it's the construction industry,
Yes.
and I see it every day. Um, Drugs are rampant,
Yeah.
drinking is rampant. I've seen guys in my company get DUIs, and once they can't drive, they just fall off. They start no
Yeah.
call, no show to work, and it just affects every aspect of their life.
Yeah.
And I mean, as soon as I saw your post, I was like, this is important. And it's also,
Yeah.
like you said, it's important to give somebody hope for the fact that I'm
Mhm.
36 when I finally decide to make this huge change. And, you know, I
Right.
wasn't young, but it worked. I find
Yeah.
sobriety. I found a job that I thought I really did not want. I think
Right.
I'm probably at the moment I would have been happier if Subway had hired me once I had that first day of removing
Mhm.
fiberglass. And it was a rat retro too. The reason it was being removed is because they had a rat problem.
Wow.
But again, I was
Yeah.
super, super, super grateful
Yeah.
just to have a job.
Oh, exactly.
So if you want to see my awesome crooked finger,
Yeah.
That's my awesome promotion finger. So we were moving 55-gallon drums, and guys were helping me, and the forklift went down, and we were moving them by hand. And these two things came together and just shattered two of my fingers. And
Yeah.
I mean, like really shattered. I had to have pins put in my finger. And again, I did not look at that as a blessing at the time, but the owner of my company is amazing.
Yeah.
Shout out to Josh Lee, Energy Monster. He he's like, don't worry about it. He's like, things happen. You're gonna have a job. And I was so afraid if I wasn't there actively working that I'd
Hmm.
be forgotten about and somebody would take my place. Not the
Right.
case. He goes, can you do sales? I was like, I don't know, but I'll try anything.
So he made the effort to find you a different position to keep
Right, my
you.
hand was shattered. I was not going to
Yeah.
be holding a spray foam gun. I was not going to be working a removal machine. I tried too. I hadn't been employed in so long that I was truly afraid. So I showed up to
Right.
work the day after surgery, and they
Wow.
were like, "Yeah, no, no, you can't work." I was
Yeah.
like, "I got this good left hand. Don't worry about
I'm
it."
good.
So I
Yeah.
remember when we were doing they even set up Home Advisor just so I could have appointments to go on because we mainly did new construction. So
Right.
they weren't having me going to builders' offices and talk to them on my first day of sales. So they set up a Home Advisor so I could do home appointments. And
Hmm.
I remember sitting in my current boss's truck, and he goes, "Okay, Caesar, sell me some blown-in insulation." I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Yeah, give me your sales pitch." And I picked up the thing, and I went ring ring, and
Yeah. Yeah.
and he goes, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Well, dude, you have to answer the phone. This is an appointment." And he
That's,
was like, "Oh, we're really doing this." I was like,
yeah.
"Hey, we're really gonna do it. We're gonna do a
Yeah.
mock sale."
Oh, that's funny.
So he he groomed me. I
Hmm.
started doing residential appointments. I worked my way up into going on builder appointments. They paid for me to get BPI certified. So I got a building analyst certification, which is invaluable for
Right.
learning home performance. So with that, I think I did the first 6 months, I did like $400,000 in sales, not
Wow.
knowing at all what
Yeah.
I was doing.
Hmm.
And an opportunity opened up by doing the right thing to become a GM for the company, to step up to the assistant GM role.
Right.
And that's where I am. So
Really?
I
Wow.
I get to manage my own projects. I get to sell my own projects.
Hmm.
I work with about 28 of my own builders that are, I mean, it's been an amazing opportunity to
Yeah.
work for this company, and I get to keep growing, and I get to work with guys that, a bunch of rowdy guys,
Hmm.
but they know who to come to when they actually have a real problem. Off
Right.
the books, outside, if things are going bad, I get to give back all the time.
Yeah.
I also I made a push to do charity work. So once a year, we have a budget
Hmm.
to be able to pick a charity project and do it. And there's in our area, there's a food bank. And once a
Mm-hmm.
year, or actually not once a year, they were throwing away food in the summertime
Yeah.
because they had this Quonset hut that was uninsulated with no air conditioning. And I got with one of my builders, and he donated air conditioning for it. And we donated the spray foam to the whole Quonset hut, AC installed, and now they've got year-round storage. So
Wow.
the
That's
sobriety's been good to
huge.
me. Yeah,
Yeah.
I get to give this thing back every day.
And you know what? That's really what it's about. It's, you've come through onto the other side, and that's what, that's what it is about, is giving back. And, even when you don't think you have much, there's something you can always do to give back. And so how long has it been since you, like, clean and sober? How long has it been?
5 years next month.
Awesome.
5 years next
Congratulations.
month,
Yeah.
from a hopeless heroin addict to the house I'm sitting in. I've bought in sobriety.
Yeah.
Um,
Got
my kids
married.
married. Kids are
Yeah.
healthy and
Congratulations.
happy. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
How many kids?
We came into the relationship with one each,
Yeah.
two girls, 6 months apart. So a
Wow.
6-year-old and a 7-year-old that get along very
Nice.
well.
Oh, that's awesome. That is so
Oh,
awesome. Yeah.
sobriety's been amazing. It's I wouldn't do it justice if I tried to describe it,
Right.
but it's the way that things have changed. I would have sold myself short if in the beginning, if somebody had said, paint a picture of what you think your best sobriety would look like, or what a life beyond your wildest dreams would look like.
Hmm.
It would have been painted with material stuff, and that's not what
Right.
it's about. I've got friends, family that loves me, peace of mind. The principles that we learn make me a good employee, makes me reliable. You can
Hmm.
count on me. I mean, I've got the keys to my church.
Wow.
Like, I get to
Yeah.
go there and set up and do stuff, like stuff that I couldn't have imagined. People wouldn't even want me anywhere around anything
Yeah.
of value because they'd be afraid I'd steal it, pawn it, and go
Right.
use. And, now I'm trusted. I'm one of those people in the community that's a go-to, and we try to give back. My
Hmm.
wife too. She's a social worker, so we try to give back every single day.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's the things people get that confused so much. Like when people are, and I see that all the time on Facebook where people are, their focus is the materialism and they want the cars and they want the jewelry or the big fancy house or, all that stuff. And none of that matters if you don't have people around you that love and support you, that are encouraging you. Like none of that matters because that's all just that's not it's not I always say it's not real stuff. Like it's not something, it can just be gone. You can lose it. But when you lose people that you love because of whether it's drugs or alcohol or things that you're doing that aren't good and you've broken trust with people, that's where it gets, when you gain that back, you there's no price you can put on that. It's
No,
invaluable.
I absolutely agree. It seems like when you're doing the right thing and you're giving back to your community and you're giving
Hmm.
of yourself to people, that your needs are met because you're
Right.
responsible. You're doing the right thing. When you're working a program, you show up to work. It's not an
Yeah.
option. You show
Right.
up, and the material things came, and that's nice. But the
Yeah.
peace of mind and the fact that I could lay my head down on the pillow at night and
Yeah.
not have the guilt, shame, and remorse from what I did of that day, that's more valuable than anything to me. I don't owe
Hmm.
people apologies in a day, and if I do, I
Yeah.
make them that day so I can go to bed.
Right. Well, because the thing is when you're doing stuff that and I don't care if you know you deep down inside know you're doing something shady or doing something
Of
wrong, like
course.
whether you're clear headed or not, no matter what, what you're doing. And there's something that tells you you're doing it. And that's why, you're not sleeping and you're not, like it's there and it's always there. And it's like everybody says, it's by far easier to tell the truth because you don't have to remember anything, right? Like, and
Yep.
let's face it, the truth sometimes is not the easiest route to go. Like, especially if you've like done something, you screwed up or whatever, and then you have to own up to what you've done. It's not an easy thing to do.
Integrity's hard,
It's
you know?
super hard. Hmm.
Integrity's hard because nobody's looking and you can cut a corner.
Yeah.
But what you're talking about, the internal compass,
Hmm.
I want my internal compass to be happy at night. I want it to go,
Right.
okay, we tried, we did a
Yeah.
really good job. Everything doesn't have to go perfectly, but as long
No.
as I didn't lie, cheat, and steal my way out of it, I can
Yeah.
go to bed and be happy. And everybody's got that little voice inside of them.
Everybody.
And if you don't like what it's saying, that's when it starts going the route of, I need to change the way I feel. I'm going to
Yeah.
drink that thing away, or I'm going to
Right.
use that thing away so I don't hear that.
Yeah.
And it's turned out that once I kind of cleaned up the wreckage of my past, I
Mm-hmm.
keep it clean now because I don't like that voice telling me that I did a bad, I did wrong.
Right.
I shorted somebody. I did
Yeah.
this. I cut corners. And that's really the program that I work today, is to try to do no harm, be the best person that I can.
Mm-hmm.
Again, not about material stuff. It's about somebody reached out and gave me a leg up, a hand up,
Yeah.
and now I get to turn around and be that guy for somebody else.
Right. Now, you mentioned earlier, like when that lady told you to shut up, you
Hmm.
mentioned that you found gratitude in there.
Yes.
How did you do, what was the thing that made you, because gratitude is a huge thing and I talk about it and I post about it all the time. And I think gratitude is, it's become a bit of a buzzword right now, on especially on social media. It's that hashtag blessed, thankful, grateful,
Hmm.
whatever. And it I never want that word to be taken for granted, because you can walk around and say you're grateful and I have gratitude, but you have to feel it. It's a feeling, and it's hard to
And an
explain
action.
it. And an action, very
Because
much
if you
so.
are grateful, you will act grateful. And
Right.
the example I would give is, if you're grateful for your job, you'll be a good employee. You can use the words and say, I'm so grateful to work here, but you show up late every day, you
Yeah.
half-ass it at the work. And that's not, I believe it's an action word.
Mm-hmm.
Gratitude is something that you emit. You show that you
Yes.
are grateful.
Yeah.
So I found gratitude in there. It was just a shift of perspective. And we can do that in any aspect of our life. You
Mm-hmm.
had to get up early because we're 3 hours apart.
Right.
You could wake up bitter about it, or you can shift your focus and say, man, I get to have a conversation with this weirdo from Florida, and I'm grateful that I get to do
I
it.
am. I am. Yeah, that is so true, because it is when you put, it's how, what you think is what will happen, right? So if you wake up and you're pissed off and you're bitter, like you're saying, and all those things, how's your day going to be? Yeah,
It's going to suck
it's
because you
not going to
woke
be
up
good.
saying, you spoke it into existence. Today's going to suck, and then now we're going to make sure
Yeah.
that it does suck. So when I was in the rehab, I started talking to the guy who basically showed me how to live. And he was like, do you realize how blessed you are where you're sitting right now? He's like, you
Hmm.
don't have to worry about bills. You don't have to do anything but really make your bed in the morning and attend these groups and receive help. So your
Yeah.
focus doesn't have to be on anything else but getting better.
Right.
And that little shift in thinking made me grateful. I was like, man, if I had tried to get sober and learn all this stuff at home with a job, with kids, all these things
Right.
going on, I don't know if I could have done it, honestly.
Yeah.
I needed to get that foundation while I was in there without all of the distractions.
Hmm.
And that's a blessing, and I'm grateful that I had that opportunity. And I'm
Right.
grateful that for the people that were there from the outside, making sure that things were still working. You know, my kids were taken care of. I was in a good situation when I look at it now. At the time, until I changed this perspective, I thought I was just doomed. I was like, I'm in another rehab.
Yeah.
Great, I've done this before. I
Hmm.
waste 6 months, I get out, and I'm the same person. But
Yeah.
we worked on change, and the change actually worked.
Right. So the last time it was that it actually worked, it was the shift in perspective that made it happen, and that's why you were able to stick with it. Would
It
you say?
was, well, I guess the
Not
shift in
stick with it,
perspective,
but like change the way
yeah,
you live.
it was willingness. It was willingness to work on myself and not look at it as an outside problem,
Okay.
because drugs and alcohol are everywhere. And to
Yes.
think I'm going to live in a world, in a bubble where I'm not going to run into these things is naive on my part. So
Right.
when you go to some of these rehabs and stuff, they tell you about triggers.
Yes.
And life is a trigger.
Yep.
Anything could be an excuse to grab a drink or a drug. I woke
Mm-hmm.
up, man, this sucks. Or, I have to work too long. The kids are bothering me. I mean, just
Yep.
anything. Or, man, I made a huge sale today. Let's celebrate.
Let's
It,
celebrate.
it goes
Yeah,
both ways. Negative and positive is an
for sure.
excuse.
Mm-hmm.
So, working on myself and realizing that my thinking is the problem. My inability to deal with life on life's terms, not life on Caesar's terms, because in my mind, if everybody would do what I just want them to do, and if people would mind their own
Yeah.
business, and if that cop wouldn't always be sitting at that corner, all these external things, if they would just obey what I want them to do,
Right.
I would be wonderful.
Life would be so
So
good.
if
Yeah.
everybody would just obey, but what it
Yeah.
really was is, yes, perspective, but realizing that I need to change something about my thinking
Right.
and in the way that I act and react with people and not have to numb myself anymore. And once I made the changes,
Mm-hmm.
things are good. I can accept everything for being it is what it is,
Yeah.
and if you believe in God, everything is in his plan.
Right.
Everything. The good, the bad, we just may not know what the reasoning is for it. And maybe we're
Right.
not supposed to know, but if I accept it as being exactly the way it's supposed to be,
Mm-hmm.
then that puts it on me to change my attitude or my outlook.
Right.
And since I've been doing that, life's been pretty good. I can look at
Yeah.
most things as a blessing today.
Yeah. And I think that is a hard shift for people, is because you hear that all the time. I hear it all the time from people I've been around or I know. And like you're saying, when you were talking about the cop sitting there at the corner, like that is a constant comment. Those blah, blah, blah. And like, it's their fault that they're doing, that's their job.
Yeah, they
You're the
literally
one,
get paid to sit
like,
right there.
that's their job. And it's that taking accountability and being like, I always say now, and it's hard to do because to look internally and kind of go, oh, that was my thing. Oh,
Hmm.
like I can't blame somebody else. The finger pointing is how many you're pointing back when you're pointing the
Yep.
finger, right? So that's a tough thing to do, but if you want to change, you got to do it. You got to dig deep and go in there. And some of that stuff that you have to deal with it's never going to be fun. It's not a pleasant thing to do, but you have to do it to get to the next step in your
Yeah, I mean,
life.
as ex problem drinkers and ex addicts, we have to point at ourselves because
Yeah.
as soon as we get back in the habit of external things being the problem, then we start whining and then we start getting resentment. Then we
Yeah.
start looking for reasons to make those go away, and then we go back to where we started again. If I'm always the problem, then I always have a solution.
Right.
I can work on myself. I can't change anybody around me.
Yep.
I can't change people, places, things, but I can change, again, my attitude, my outlook,
Mm-hmm.
or I can remove myself from a situation if it's bad enough. I can just
Right.
say, okay, this is not going to work for me. I need to move on.
Yeah.
I have options because I can control what I do. You know,
Right. Yeah. So when you're doing, because like now you're a GM,
mm-hmm.
that is a job that doesn't come without stress. That's got to
Oh
be
my
a
God.
highly stressful job. So what do you do now when you're in those like
I
overwhelming
got a bunch.
situations? Like what do you
I got a
do?
bunch of the guys that work with me on here
Yeah.
watching. It's pretty awesome. I am. My management style is pretty different from a lot of people. I don't yell at people.
Yeah.
I don't I don't scold. I'll go out to job sites and I try to stop by the job sites that they're working on. If I know details about the job, like, hey, let's not miss this. Let's do this. Let's do that. Sometimes people fall short. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
it's from complacency, and sometimes it's just because these guys work their butts off, and it is what it is for the day.
Right.
And I tend to get a better reaction being patient with people and working with them. They know what's expected. I know they know what's expected. And typically if they fall short, it's not from lack of effort or something like that.
Right.
Uh, I don't hide from the problems either. If there's a customer that's, hey, double time, we got to get this done. I don't turn my phone off and go, oh, maybe it'll go away. I face it head on. If somebody puts their foot through somebody's drywall, I tell them, hey, that happened today. Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to send the drywall guy there first thing in the morning, and I've trained myself to make the phone call right then. So I don't wait and build it up in my
Right.
head to
Yeah.
this horrible nightmare, because I can make the things in my head to be like the biggest boogeyman in the world. When
Yeah.
really they're just not that big a deal if you just address them immediately.
Right.
So yeah, not every day is perfect, but every day is pretty good.
Yeah, because I mean, especially when you're dealing with other people, you've got a team under you and you've got customers. And I mean, let's face it, customers are not always, I've, it's always that, it's funny because I've worked at places where it's the customer is always right. No,
No,
the
no, no, they're
customer
not.
is not always
We can treat them with kid gloves, but they're usually
right.
wrong.
Exactly, exactly. So
One of the
you,
guys watching, JD, he just
yeah,
did a job for us, and the guy, I try to focus on the wins. The guy sent us like
yes,
this epic picture of him with his arm in the air on a
yeah,
motorcycle in the building that we foamed. He wrote us a great review.
yeah,
And when stuff like that happens, I make sure I go tell them, hey
hmm,
guys, I appreciate you. Look what this guy did. Like your hard
yeah,
work is appreciated. And then, when something happens, like you get some overspray on something,
yeah,
okay, well, let's work on not having that happen again. But I try to not dwell on the bad stuff, but I try to make
right,
sure that I take the time with them to recognize the good stuff. Like, take
right.
the time, man, you guys kicked ass today. You did a good job today. I'm proud of you. Thank you.
Yeah,
Let them know they're appreciated, because it's a rough job, man. Like
yeah,
they get their asses kicked on a regular basis. I
for
mean,
sure.
it's
And I think
it's
too,
not easy.
some people feel like, and I'm not a person who believes in the whole like participation medal thing and like everybody should be patted on the back
No,
because
no, no,
you're
no, no,
all
no.
included and yeah, 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 rah, rah, rah. But I do feel like people do need that pat on the back once in a while. They need to be recognized. They need to be feeling appreciated because it is, you know what? That could be the only thing that's good in their whole life is that job. And you know what? They might go home and their life could just be like, it could be a disaster. But if they know they're doing a good job, they're going to try and, for the most part, they're going to do better. They're going to want to do better. And they know that
If
you
the,
are truly, if it's coming from a place of honesty and it's
mhm.
real, it's not fake, they're going to work hard.
If the only conversations they get with management
Mm-hmm.
is to be bitched at,
Oh, yeah.
it and I know a lot of places that are like that. The
Mm-hmm.
only conversations they have is, man, you suck, you screwed this up, you could have done more today. If you don't take the
Yeah.
time to appreciate the good,
Right.
they're not going to give you the extra. They're not going to go above and
Mm-hmm.
beyond, because they're going to do what they got to do to get a paycheck, and they're going to go home because they don't want to talk to you. And why would they give you any more of their blood, sweat, and tears? Because you've
No,
never given them a
exactly.
pat on the back.
Exactly. Well, I mean, if we all just, sometimes we forget, like people, I think, forget where they came from and they get into positions of, they get a title like general manager. We'll just use this as an example.
Hmm.
And it goes, but like it'll go, some people get title oriented and then it becomes like they're entitled, like they're the
Hmm.
person. And that's not good either. They've forgotten that they started out where that guy is starting out or that girl is starting out. Like,
Oh man, I tell them
never
all the time.
forget. Yeah,
I'm so grateful for where I am.
yeah,
We, man, I'll never forget where I came from.
yeah,
Because I don't want to repeat it. I want to know. I want to keep it fresh in my mind how bad it really was.
right.
Because it seems like in the mind of an addict or an alcoholic, we tend to forget, and we'll only glamorize like it was the gravel pit. Be like, oh
Yeah,
man, remember how awesome the gravel pit was, and we used to
right.
hang out there?
Yep.
But they'll forget about the time that the guy fell in the gravel pit or somebody died out there or you know what I mean? Like
Rolled their car off the top. Yeah.
we only
Yeah.
glamorize it. And,
Right.
before I actually worked a program, that's what I did. I would get out of jail. That I just sat there for months and months and months, and I'll be
Yeah.
having a conversation with somebody talking about, man, we were playing spades in there. We were having a good time, and
Yeah.
no, I
It
was not
was,
having a good time. I was
yeah.
miserable. I was away from my family, eating crap food. But if I don't surround myself with people that help me remember, if I'm not giving back to the person behind me,
Yeah.
I can always see examples because I'm always working with new guys, and
Hmm.
I can see what their lives look like
Yeah.
and go, man, I don't want to go back there. But what I do want to do is help you get
Help you.
here.
Yes. Right. So if somebody on this live is watching and they are kind of in that spot where they are not sure, because this is the thing I also is the reason why I feel this conversation is so important, because somebody's watching this or going to watch it and they're going to be in that position where they don't think, like, they're feeling hopeless. What would you say to, like, what would be something that you would say to them
I
to
mean,
encourage
I
them?
would say that there absolutely is hope. I went from a hopeless jailbird to a life beyond my wildest dreams. You just have to be willing to ask for help. And I know that was the hardest part for me. You
Yeah.
can go into any, I can't use names, but you can go into any 12-step group
Yeah.
and go in there and say, man, I'm miserable. I don't know how to live. Somebody show me.
Hmm.
And I guarantee you somebody will say, absolutely, brother, let me help you out.
Yeah.
But you have to get to the point where you're willing to ask for help. And that's the hard
And
part.
that's the stumbling block. That is
That's why
definitely
they say that you have to hit some type of bottom, because if it's not bad enough, you still think you can fix it yourself.
right.
You still believe in your mind, if I just change this little thing, if I just don't take that street that the cop's on, I'll be okay. I'm going to take all
Right.
back roads from now on and I won't get another DUI. So
Yeah.
until I reached a point where I was beaten into willingness by life,
Yeah.
you know, then I wouldn't. But my guys that work at the company know that
Hmm.
I'm always available to talk about problems. I'm always available for help outside of work.
Right.
Typically, I leave work and I go work with guys, then go to a meeting, and then do work at the church. And it's 10, 11 o'clock before I get home.
Yeah.
But my heart is full because I
Yeah.
have done my best to help my fellows that day.
Yeah.
And whether that's at work or outside of work, it doesn't matter. If the opportunity presents itself to help somebody, I take it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, it's huge. And that asking for help, it's so hard. And I think because I don't know if that's just a thing that we've all been taught. I don't know why it's a thing that we all think it's a weakness, maybe. That, oh my God, if I have to ask somebody for help, like I kind of suck as a person.
Yeah,
But it's
but
totally
you're
the opposite
almost,
of that.
it's empowering, really,
It's a strength. Like
because
if,
I can receive the help then, and then I can learn
yes,
and I can grow. If I never open my mouth up, you
yeah,
know, a, a closed mouth doesn't get fed. I
right.
don't get all these spiritual tools, and I don't learn how to live if I just act like I know it all and sit there with my mouth shut.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's so true. It's tough, but it's kind of a necessity. But I think just, and two, this is the one thing I will say about social media that can be a bonus is I think people find it easier to reach out if they're having an issue, because you don't have to look at them in the face maybe, but they'll send a message saying, you know what, like I'm having a hard time with X, Y, and Z. What do you think? Or can you help me? Or, because you're not face to face, but you're at least making that effort. And then maybe
Hmm.
there will be a face. I've had a number of people do that with just different conversations I've had on this platform. And I've had messages where people are like, Carla, like, what was that book that you were talking about? Or what was that thing? Because my life's falling apart. You get those conversations behind the scenes. And that is one thing I will give kudos to social media for, because it's given that platform to make that connection with somebody. You and I would never be talking without social media, which that is
It started with a message.
right. Exactly. So I'm just, it's, and I think too, especially like you were just saying in the construction industry, this is such a huge conversation that needs to
That's what made me
happen.
reach out to you, because I knew you
Yeah.
had the relationship with Spray Foam Worldwide. And
Yeah.
I've seen little comments here and there about people, oh, I'm coming back. I got sober. I'm back on it.
Yes.
I'm going to be spray foaming hard now. And
Yeah.
people need to know that we become better when we get sober. And I don't want it
Yes.
to I don't want it to have such a huge stigma of, oh man, that guy was an addict, we don't want to hire him. A sober alcoholic
Right.
or a sober addict is the best worker you will ever have,
Right.
because they feel like they've got this debt of gratitude because you gave them a shot, and they're going to work their ass off to make sure that we pay you back for it.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, when Rex and I did some work in Seattle, and it was in the construction industry. And I mean, we had a number of people that we worked with that were, whether it was drugs or alcohol, some were, they had come through and they were like where you are now. Some were not ready. So those
Yeah,
ones, and you know what? Those ones, they got to keep going until they're ready, because you can't do it for somebody else. You got to do it for you. And I
I
know
agree.
a lot of people use that, well, they have a wife or they have a husband, they've got kids, da 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 da. Until they're ready to do it for them, it's not going to work.
It's heart-wrenching to say, but all those things were said to me. What about your parents?
Yeah.
You're supposed to be taking care of your parents. You have a
Right.
2-year-old kid. What about her? I couldn't see any of that.
Yeah.
It's selfish and self-centered. All I thought about was my next fix, my next drink. Nothing else
Right.
could make it through the shell because I was obsessed. All I could think about was that.
Right.
So, and unfortunately, some people don't have to go to the links that I
Mm-hmm.
went to. Some people catch it earlier, and we say a bottom, but whatever your bottom is, whether it's
Right.
a consequence at work, or whether it's prison, or whether it's you lost a
Mm-hmm.
limb, wherever it is, it's different for everybody. But you get that wake up call where you're like, oh man, I got to change something now.
Right. Yeah. And nobody else can tell you what that is, because
No,
everybody thinks, well, that's got to be it. Like this time has got
no,
to be the
no.
thing that is like the rock bottom. And it's like, you don't know what the rock bottom is until that person figures it out. Like that's it for them.
I would have thought mine would have been like in high school if I had caught on quickly, but
Right.
I'm a slow learner. I thought I
Slower.
could think my way, I thought I could
Yeah.
think my way out of this for years. I really had a high opinion of my intelligence. And,
Right.
it turns
Yeah.
out I don't know anything. I don't know anything about how to stay sober until somebody taught it to me.
Right.
Those are not principles that I was just born with in my head.
Yeah.
I had to learn them. Just like spray foam. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know anything about it. Being BPI certified, I don't know anything about that.
Yeah.
But I'm teachable today, so I could sit down and I
Right.
could learn something.
Yeah.
And I never want to feel like I'm not teachable. Sobriety included. I'm still learning every single day. There's
Yeah.
people in front of me and people with less time than me that have something to teach me. And as long as I stay willing, I can learn something every
Yeah.
single day.
Oh, if you think you're the smartest person in the room, you better get out of that room. Like that's everybody needs to remember there is something you can learn every day. Like from somebody, could be the most random person, but whether they're younger or
Especially
older.
this industry we're in. Holy cow.
Yeah.
I don't care how many certifications I get. I don't care how many jobs I've been on. There's
Hmm.
somebody that knows more. And I know Tyler always says, be the expert. I can be the expert, but there's an expert that knows way
Right.
more than me. In my little fishbowl, I can be an expert,
Yeah.
but there's a lot to learn. And
Oh,
there's
yeah.
always going to be a lot to learn.
And it's changing, and that's the thing. It's crazy. And I know you touched on it briefly with worldwide, and when people have posted about, you know, that they're struggling or whatever. And the thing that has really amazed me about that group, and I call it a family, but is the amount of people who come on there and go, I've been through that too. Like, it's okay, don't worry. But the support, because I honestly, when I remember that probably 2 years ago or even three, I guess Worldwide's coming up on 3 years. So it was in the very beginning. And
Hmm.
somebody came on there and made some comment about their struggle. And the comments went like, there were so many comments. And I thought, this could go one of two ways. And I was nervous because I thought, if people get on here and start like getting down on that person, that's what I was fearful of, because I thought, oh my
Hmm.
God, somebody's going to make, there was not one negative comment, and it was just nothing but like encouragement and support and phone numbers given and message me. And I just was like blown away by that. And I appreciate that so much of that group, because there's, no matter what, somebody's stepping up to say, you know what, if you need something, let me know. And that's what people need.
I learned more from that group
Mm-hmm.
than anything else, or at least it gave me starting points when it would come to
Right.
equipment. And I can't thank the group enough. It's
Yeah.
helped me endlessly into my job. I've posted on there with questions about things and
Mm-hmm.
get pretty immediate answers, or I even know guys on there that I can shoot a message to,
Right.
and they will get right back to you and be like, hey, look at A, B, and C and see if you can figure it out
Yeah.
this way. If not, here's my phone number. Call me after this hour and we'll diagnose it together. I mean,
Yeah.
they are good people. And, that's the reason they shut down some of the conversations that are on there, because they want that approachability for people to receive the help. And if
Mm-hmm.
somebody asks for help and people start calling them stupid and, oh, your
Yeah.
phone looks like crap and all of this stuff, then are they going to ask for help again? No.
No.
That they just got browbeat for it.
And I get that whole, like, that's a mentality that people are like, they come on there and they think, well, if I'm hard on them, it's that, it's that mentality
There's
of,
a
if you're
balance, though.
right, you know what, you can critique somebody constructively without belittling them. And you
Hmm.
see it on there, and eventually somebody will come on to that, because there will be a few that come on there and they're like, that looks like shit, and this is what you should do. Some may be trying to be funny, some may be trying to do that whole like, well, if I'm tough on them, they're going to get it. And then somebody will eventually come on there and go, you know what, you guys, like, this is not what this is about. And it turns it around. And I love seeing that, because you know what, like, not everybody starts at some point. Remember where you started. Just
Yeah,
because
you can
you're spraying stuff and it looks amazing, where did you start? It didn't look like that when you started.
at least, if you're going to criticize,
Mm-hmm.
criticize with a solution to their problem too. Don't just tell
Yes.
them their foam looks like shit. Say your foam looks like shit because it's too cold and you need to raise your pressures and
Right. Have a solution to the problem.
right.
Yeah, like, you don't need to browbeat somebody and drag them down, because I can tell you it probably takes everything in their whole being to post that picture anyways.
Oh,
You know,
I remember,
it's the scariest
you
thing
know, I
ever.
I didn't spray for that long because of my injury and I went up, but when I'm proud of my guys, I'll post stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the first time I did it, I
Yeah.
was like, shit, what if they rip his shit apart? and then
Right.
he's going to hate me for posting
Yeah.
it.
Thanks a
But
lot.
fortunately, I know enough about spray foam to know what good foam looks like, and I
Yeah.
posted it and he got a lot of kudos for it and it made him feel
Yeah.
good. But yeah, it definitely crossed my mind. I was like, oh man, I hope I didn't just mess up.
Yeah, it's scary to do that, because you're being vulnerable, right? Like, you're putting yourself
Hmm.
out there, and then, oh boy, like, it's a big group of people. So,
It's
you
a
know,
big group of people in our industry.
and somebody's gonna come on there and just be not nice. But yeah,
I
it's
try to shout everybody out on there, like Jake with IDI stopped by yesterday, and man, like that guy has delivered off the clock to us and brought material to us after
yeah.
hours, or we need some crazy thing and we're in the middle of the state and here comes Jake in his truck. So that I use the platform for that too, to let people know who goes
Yeah.
above and beyond, and
Yep.
who we love really.
Yeah, I think it's, that's the thing about that group too. It's the platform to kind of to troubleshoot, to learn, to, give guys kind of like kudos when they deserve to have that done. And I just think it's a great, I don't like, I have always been a fan of it right from the beginning. And I'm always like, if you're not in there, I don't know, like, why aren't you in there? And I know there's different views on that, but like, to me, it's one of the best things on Facebook, on any platform. I don't care, because it's created that environment, and it's created people who would have run on the mindset of, that's my competition, I'm not talking to them,
Yep. Yep.
to, what, do you need my help? I'll come help you. Like, there's that, it's taken the scarcity mindset out of some people and created that more of, let's work we can still be competitors, but we can work together.
We're in the same industry. How do we make the industry better?
Exactly.
And we can lift the industry up if we're trying to outdo each other by doing better work. Awesome. That's great competition.
Exactly.
If we're just browbeating, beating each other and trying to cut each other's legs out by
Yeah.
lowballing prices, that hurts the whole industry, because it brings,
Right.
it brings the trade down. If we're not selling this for what the price that it should be,
Yeah.
and we're not making fair market price just because we're trying to undercut our competition, that hurts everybody.
Exactly. No, exactly. I think it's done just amazing things for the industry. And there's so many, we've all connected, and we've made great friends, we've made great, people have probably gotten jobs out of, because they didn't know about other people. And
After
it's
every one of these spray foam conventions, about a month later, all the titles change because
right.
everybody's got like, I know how good you are because I see you on Spray Foam Worldwide. Now I see
Right.
you in person, and I want to hire you for
Yeah.
my company. And all these guys end up just, they keep moving up, and the right people move up, the whole industry gets better, because
Right.
that's who's managing everything, and that's who the suppliers are using, and that's who the tech reps are now,
Yeah.
are the guys who really know what they're doing. And the ones who
No,
are faking
exactly.
it, they weed themselves out.
Yep, that's right. No, that's so right. But we have talked for a long time, so I should probably let you get back to your family. But I just wanted to
That was a
say
good
it was
conversation.
awesome. I'm so glad you reached out, and thank you so much. I know, like I said in the beginning, it's going to help somebody that needed to hear this conversation. And whether, I think it's just going to be better for everybody. And what I'm going to do is I'm also going to record this after and turn it probably into a podcast. So it'll go into that platform as well, because I know there's people that need to hear this. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your story and time with us. I really, really appreciate it. So I know people have been commenting. So thank you guys for watching with us, and we'll answer comments, or I don't know, there might have been questions in there too. I was kind of trying to keep an eye on it, but it's hard to do that, and the multitasking wasn't good. So, but yeah, thank you again. And you know what? We're going to have more conversations down the road for sure.
Yeah, this was awesome. Thank you
Yeah.
for having me. And yeah, I look forward to our next conversation.
Great. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day. And if you do one thing today, do something that lights your soul up. And we will see you guys all next week. Bye.
So long, everybody.